to Focus on B, the video series where I spent about 20 or so minutes playing and talking about a game that I've got some thoughts on. And this is another childhood classic, because I've been on a roll with these. This is Hot Wheels Stunt Track Challenge. One of the few legitimately, and I stand by this for fuck's sake, legitimately incredible licensed toy games. It's weird, right? Because when you think of a licensed toy game, you think some quick cash-in piece of shit. That sucks. But this is a really, really great little driving game. It's an arcade-style, obviously, driving challenge game, as you would expect from the name. So the way that they've done it is really smart. So Climax, right? Climax are the developers of this game. They have worked on the ETV Off-Road Fury games after Rainbow Studios went on to do other things. Also, they did some of the MotoGP games. I think I talked about that in a Vivid Noise episode of mine. And obviously, they have some level of... they're knowledgeable about racing games. So a year before this game, they were hired by whoever, I don't know, THQ or something, maybe, to do a Hot Wheels World Race tie-in game. And to give that game credit, it's also really solid. It's a movie tie-in, kind of. It's more so just a tie-in with the concept of the movie, not so much the movie itself. I don't even know when the movie came out, if it was actually tied into it properly, but whatever it might be, it was a pretty solid racing game. It's also really, really pretty. I think it's actually a little prettier than this game. But the game got a little bit, repetitive because of the way the handling was. It was just kind of racing constantly. So what they did was they were probably aware of that during this game's development. So what have they done? They have combined... They've made a bunch of different game modes and just made a challenge game instead. So instead of just a straight racing game where you're just going, God, these fucking loading times are killing me, where you're just racing. As you can see, I haven't even done a race at all. Like, I've just been doing challenges. Now I'm about to do a mini game. That's right, there's these little mini games you can play to collect tokens, which allow you to unlock vinyls. Now, I'm just going to be completing them as... oh, shit, that slows you down. I'm just going to complete them as fast as I can, not going for everything, because, well, one, surprisingly, despite this game's age range, these are actually a little bit tricky. Like seriously, you can't dilly-dally at all. You have to find all of these tokens quickly and then just get the hell out. Like, I have to... okay, at this point, I just gotta go. It would be useful if you had a map. But I think what makes this mode, for example, so... oh, shit, that's actually not it. I gotta go. Okay, drop off. There we go. Oh, no, that's stupid. Why don't they let you just drop off? Damn it. And I'm not gonna make it. Look at that. I failed. I failed to complete a challenge in this little dinky kids game. Now, funnily enough, I don't have to do it. Let's just speed this up real quick. There you go. Yeah, you don't even have to complete them. They're just little bonus games. You can go back and try and get the decals, but you don't actually have to complete them, which I think is really nice as well. Not just because this game is marketed towards young kids who might not, because they're genuinely kind of hard. You might not be able to complete them because, as you can see, I just messed it up. Although the top-down camera angle, it helps that the camera zooms out when you go a little faster. But anyway, back to these challenges, though. So what they've done is they've basically taken the simple handling model that they've developed and taken it to its extreme by having you completing these different obstacle courses that would normally be a massive pain in the ass with more realistic handling, right? Because they probably realized that, hey, we can't just have straight racing the whole time with a handling model this simple, right? That's why, like, personally, I'm not really too interested in playing World Race. I think the game looks fantastic. It's aesthetically really cool, but the gameplay looks like it would grow old really quickly. But this game, I've completed it, like, what, 10 times probably? And it's because this campaign is actually pretty short and incredibly varied. No two missions are exactly the same. Some are alike, yes, but there's so much variety in the different things that you do while still reminding you that it's a racing game. Because right now, let me just skip this little loading time. There you go, we're going to do another race. I'm just going to pick whatever car I have. Let me actually see. Muscle, heavy. How is that a muscle car, man? Look at that. Okay, then. Well, actually, no, go back. Let me pick... oh, I don't have many cars, though. I got the Vulture. What's the Vulture like? That looks cool. Let's use it. We don't have a lot of detailed stats, which I guess that's to be expected. Although, coming from Hot Wheels Turbo Racing... I still hold that Hot Wheels Turbo Racing is probably the best Hot Wheels game ever made. Not even Unleashed or Unleashed 2 were going to take that crown for me. But this is a very strong contender. Because even though I quite like Beat That, I did a whole video on it, it isn't an incredibly good racing game. I think it's just a pretty solid Hot Wheels game. This is actually a fantastic game. Honestly, it's just great. There's variety, there's polish. Everything is so tight about this game. Like the visuals are fantastic. They've aged super well. The music is actually pretty damn good. You're not going to hear much of it. But I actually used some of this game's soundtrack in an older video of mine because the game that I was actually talking about had copyrighted music, and you know how that goes. The controls are super responsive. They're pretty much the same as they were in... Ooh, a key. I forgot about that. You can access these secret areas. They're pretty much the same as they were in World Race, which means they're pretty good. You got this... Okay, you have this weird tilt mechanic for some reason. Look, I can tilt like it's one of the Cars games. I don't know what's up with that. And another thing is that the driving... Well, not the driving, but the racing is actually a little bit challenging. Look at how I'm not really able to keep up with my... Oh, okay, no, I'm gonna catch up to the guy in first place real soon if he doesn't keep taking my freaking boost. And the thing about the boost system, actually, is that it's quite different to how it normally would work in a racing game where you just have nitrous, where you just hold it down. Here, the boost is more of a burst mode. So what you do is you have to build up enough to reach a minimum level of boost. And then once you've reached that minimum level of boost, you can boost for a set period of time. And I'm not really... I think it's similar to how Sonic Unleashed handles it on the Wii. You know, the Wii version of Sonic Unleashed, right? Or the SD version, whatever you want to call it, Unleashed, where you have your boost meter split up into pieces, and it's kind of how it works here. Because if I use the boost now, that was just a single tap. I just tapped the boost button, and now I'm going for it, right? And now I can't do it anymore. So it's split up into chunks. This lends itself to it. There's a little bit of strategy to how you want to use it, because you can't just stop whenever you want. You're set in stone. Now, if you crash, as you just saw right there, if you crash, the boost immediately deactivates. This is obviously an incentive to try and drive a lot better. Now, what else is there to say about this game that really, really puts it over the top for me as just a licensed car racing game with something that's typically just a kid's brand? Well, you know what it is? I think it has to be the logical structure of progression with how the game goes, because everything feels very logically put together. What I mean by that is you're not just randomly doing race and then another event and then a race and then something different and that guy looks really weird. It's all very rigid, and that's a good thing in this case. So you have, for example, okay, so look at this. You do a little challenge event. Then you do a race, then you do some more challenges, then you're going to have at least two two little mini games, right? And the mini games do definitely add a lot of variety. And the environments, man, the environments in this game are absolutely fantastic. The theming isn't the most original thing in the world. You just have dinosaurs, marine life, space, of course. You had spookies, creepy crawly, and I think we're going to have a tiki theme as well. But they're just the right themes for what makes sense for a Hot Wheels game, to be honest. And I think what makes this so good is just the fact that this doesn't just feel like a solid Hot Wheels game. It doesn't. You could take the Hot Wheels brand out of this, and it would still be a really fantastic and fun game, right? And it's so tight, and just everything just goes for... I'm just gushing, but I don't really know how else to describe why I like this game so much. This is not just nostalgia. Yes, nostalgia is definitely a part of it. But again, there's a lot of games that I played as a kid that I can't play today because I find them either too boring or too clunky or not good or just haven't aged well. This has aged super well, which isn't really surprising because it came out around that golden era of it's from the it's from the mid 2000s. I think it's from 2004. And damn, I just realized something. Hot Wheels were freaking on fire back then in the video game department because 99, right, you got Hot Wheels Turbo Racing. Then I don't know what happened from 2000 or whatever, but in 2002 there was Velocity X, 2003 there was World Race, then there was this in 2004, 2007 was Beat That, and then I don't know, there were some other games. At that point they went a little more handheld and then some mobile game stuff, and then finally they were like, yo, let's put out Hot Wheels Unleashed to make it actually pretty damn good. And now I want to talk about why I think the Hot Wheels games have actually been pretty damn solid. It's because, unlike a lot of licensed games where they'll just hire whoever, it seems that the publishers always do their homework before they recruit someone to make a game for this series. For example, Climax, for this game, and World Race, as I said, they've worked on other racing games, other very good racing games, so they just know what they're doing, right? They understand how to make a fun, arcadey, and still varied and interesting racer of this kind, right? It's like if you were to get Codemasters to do it, or Criterion, like they know what's up. Although, okay, I'm not gonna lie, and this is gonna be a bit of a hot take, I don't think Codemasters have ever made a good full-on arcade racer. Like, all of their attempts have been kind of like, okay, there was like F1, what was it, F1 Race Stars. That game wasn't amazing, honestly. Grid 2 I think is better than some people give it credit for, but I think honestly Grid 1 is better. But Grid 1 isn't an arcade racer. It has 1.5 feet. Not one foot in arcade, 1 foot in realism. It has one of its feet and then like the other half of its foot in arcade. But it still has that tiny bit of realism. Like, cars will take damage. You have team members. What else about it? The fact that you can completely crash out, but it also kind of, well, it did something that I don't think it gets enough credit for, and it essentially paved the way for what every modern racing game does. Okay, not every modern racing game, but Forza does this a lot, especially. The rewind mechanic, right? It brought that back. But generally, I think that Codemasters, they're primarily good at like Simcade stuff, or arcade with a hint of sim, but they've never been great at full arcade, right? They do full sim pretty well, as, you know, to be fair, like for example Dirt Rally 1 and 2. But anyway, back to, you know, Hot Wheels. With Unleashed, they got Milestone. You know what else? I'm sorry, you know what else Milestone have done? They've done a lot of the, I think, not just motocross games, I think they've done some of the MotoGP games. Actually, aren't they the current developer of MotoGP? I'm not sure. But I know that they have a lot of legitimate racing game pedigree. Didn't they also make Ride? Or was that a different studio? I'm not sure. But basically, Milestone are pretty busy when it comes to that. So, even though I thought it was initially a weird choice to get them to make Unleashed because of, you know, 4 wheels or more than 2, I guess it's not that different when it comes to making a racing game. And funnily enough, there's not a lot of borrowed DNA, you know, and it's not like this game feels like a MotoGP game or anything. You know, that's an interesting trend. I wonder who else who has worked on a motorbike racing game will end up working on a Hot Wheels game in the future. Who's to say in like the next 10 years, whoever is at that time working on the MotoGP games, if that's even still a thing, that is, who's willing to bet that they would end up making a Hot Wheels game? Like, what's up with that? Like, what's up with that connection? What, did the guys who make Hot Wheels Turbo Racing also make motorbike games? I actually have no idea. I don't even know who made that game. Was it Paradigm? No, it wasn't Paradigm. Oh my god, I have no idea. I know EA published it, but what the hell is this car? This thing looks funny. I know EA published it, but I don't know who actually developed it. Stormfront. No. Was it Stormfront? For some reason, I have the name Stormfront in my head right now. I'm not sure if it was Stormfront. Or am I thinking of a game that was called that? Oh no, there's the Homefront games. Whatever, it doesn't matter. Anyway, let's go ahead and just collect the last. So, yeah, you have to collect more of them, but we're not going to do that. Oh, crap. I actually got 4 of them. Now let's go ahead and finish it, because we can. This one gives you plenty of time, though, to be fair. And I kind of like how there's like this obvious main motif, right? The game will have this dun 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 dun, this weird chromatic climbing thing with the guitar going on. It's kind of cool. It's always fun when like a game show style game will have different remixes of its main theme. I'm not really sure what I'm going on about right now, but at this point I'm just kind of, man, I'm not so surprised this game is so solid, right? And actually, wait, hold on. Let's get back to what I was talking about when it came to the backgrounds of whatever developer would go on to work on a Hot Wheels game, because I always found that interesting. You know what else Eutechnics have done, or what Eutechnics did before they became the Ride to Hell guys? What else have they done since then? Have they done anything, actually? I don't know. They made a version of the 24 Hour of Le Mans game. So, if you don't know, back in 99 and 2000, there were several versions of that game put out. So, there was one for the PlayStation 1 made by Eutechnics, but there was also another one made by someone else. I don't know who it was. I think it was it Eden, or was it Was it Melbourne? I'm not sure. I would have to look it up. But they that's a really cool logo they got on the skulls. They developed a separate version of the 24-hour of Le Mans game. I think it was just called Le Mans or 24-hour Le Mans. I'm not sure. And it was very different. It used a different engine, totally different driving model. It looked very different. For some reason, this mission gave me a lot of crap as a kid. I'm not sure why. But the thing that I find interesting is that some people generally seem to prefer the Technics version, actually, even though it's not quite as pretty looking, of course, due to it being on PS1. I think there was this video, a very good video someone made a while ago. I don't remember the name, but they made a video comparing the Technics version and the other version of the game on the other systems. And surprisingly, despite the fact that the higher spec, the Dreamcast and PC and PS2 versions had their benefits, I think the overall, the verdict swayed in Eutechnics' favor. So there it is again, a developer that actually is pretty good at making traditional racing games, not gimmick like toy games like this, for example, where it's like based on a toy brand, going ahead and making a good version of it, because Hot Wheels Beat That is pretty good. It's not their best game. It's not their best game by a long shot, but I like Hot Wheels Beat That well enough, right? I will admit it gets a little bit dull. It has some issues with the difficulty, in the sense that it's actually really easy. Oh my god, this game on the other hand, I find is completely fair when it comes to the difficulty. You know what else I really like? The field of view is super wide here, or maybe it just feels like it, but you can see, oh for fuck's sake, you can see a hell of a lot. In fact, I can zoom the camera out just a little bit more. See, these challenges, for example, are actually reused, as in, there's more than one of these, right? This isn't the only box-breaking challenge, but they all have unique tracks that you traverse, and they're all really, really fun to drive on. And this is where Climax made the right choice, because he realized that, their driving would be it'd be too dull to just be like this on its own, but this kind of driving model lends itself super well to completing different kinds of I'm not gonna... No... what kind of score am I gonna get? And I've been repeating this basically the whole video. I just realized that they just made a smart decision, but still, I can't get over that fact, how legitimately good this game is in every aspect that you would not expect a licensed game of this kind to be. Because yes, it's not uncommon for these kind of games to be good. Ever heard of GoldenEye, right? Or The World Was Not Enough? That one was pretty solid, and from what I've seen, the remake, quote-unquote, of GoldenEye isn't terrible, actually. It just seems to be a little bit too typical modern shooter-y. You know what I just realized? I'm pretty sure I can... Oh, no. If I quit the game show, then no. Okay, we're going to have to just complete this normally. These missions are... I can't say they're my favorite, mainly because they're top-down. And yeah, sure, I've made a top-down racing game myself, but it was more of an exercise in the engine as opposed to me actually being a fan of these kind of games. I don't really care for top-down. I do like how the camera zooms out a little bit. Right, that is always a nice quality of life decision, and that's the thing. Climax, they knew how to not get in the player's way and how to make the game just generally enjoyable. Because I imagine they probably weren't given a ton of time to make this game. I can't say it feels rushed, though. It doesn't feel rushed. It feels very carefully scoped, as in they knew exactly what they had the resources for and didn't aim any higher. Right, they didn't try anything, they didn't bite off more than they could chew development-wise, and so because of that, it ends up being better for it. I know that generally you want to have an ambitious idea, but sometimes those ambitions just can't come to fruition, right? Like imagine if, okay, so you know how Mega Man 7, fuck it. You know how Mega Man 7 infamously had a really, really short development cycle? I'm talking 3 months. Imagine if that was the game to try and reinvent Mega Man or something. It would not have worked. So what did they do? They just kept it traditional, right? 8 Robot Masters, typical powers, level design, blah, 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 Wily's the villain. They did introduce Baysto, which was pretty fun. So that's the sort of thing. I feel like maybe and because this game came out just a year after World Race, right? It must be true that they didn't have much time to work on it. So they just went, okay, cool. So what can we do to expand upon our formula whilst keeping it fresh, but making sure it's a racing game at heart? Well, they downplay the racing, but I don't think that's a bad thing, because, I would rather have a game that's... Look at this. Look at this kind of challenge. You got not only breaking boxes, duh, but... Oh, no, I just Half-Lifed it. God, I Half-Life 2'd that shit. I just slightly bumped the box instead of breaking it. So you're still breaking boxes, but now you have this awesome looking environment that takes a gimmick from one of the races, the way that the boost pad, like a vertical boost pad, that's one of the gimmicks from the races, and why are the crates stuck in midair when I break them? Look at that. Oh, there you go. I guess it was just a frame rate issue. I don't know. But they take that gimmick and they go ahead and they go ahead and explore it in a more fleshed out sort of minigame. And oh no, I'm falling. And that's fun. Like, this game is just really fun and has lots to do, but it's all of the same kind of stuff to do, but it's not too samey. Basically, they played a risky game, actually, when it came to introducing this many styles of gameplay. They could have easily fallen into that, like, mid-2000s kitchen sink trap of doing too much shit at once, but they didn't. They actually did a very good job balancing everything out and keeping it a driving game at its core. It's not like you're suddenly controlling a crane or flying around or doing dumb shit. No, you're still driving. Oh god, I'm falling. And that's basically going to wrap up my 20 minutes of gushing over this game I played as a kid, but I think it holds up. I recommend you still play this game. You can't get it anywhere legitimately, so I think you know what to do. I think you know where to look. I hope you know where to look, because come on, like, I know that it's illegal, but when no one's going to sell you the game, I can't go on Steam and type in Hot Wheels Stunt Track Challenge. I mean, I can do that, but all I'll get is Hot Wheels Unleashed stuff, and I've already played Hot Wheels Unleashed, so yeah, I recommend you play this game however you can, because it's solid as hell. And that's going to do it for this episode of Focus on B, the video series where I spent about 20 or so minutes gushing about a game like this that I've got some thoughts on. And this has been Hot Wheels Stunt Track Challenge 2004, PC, Xbox, Game Boy Advance, and PS2.